My channel is not really existing at this point. I have 3 subscribers that I've had since 2011, I think. And no one really watches anything I do, which is fine. I don't really care what people watch. But you can imagine that when you have very little subscribers and very little views, you also get very little comments. My re-upload of Brie Larson's body language video, which was taken down by I think the channel is called Body Language Ghost. I'll put in an image now. I re-uploaded it because when I first saw it, I thought it was a very fascinating way of breaking down body language of a person that is not really, I guess, liked between the people. And so I re-uploaded it because I knew some people wanted to see it. I found something on Reddit where people were talking about how they were upset that the video was taken down, and so I decided to re-upload it because I couldn't find any re-uploads online. I haven't contacted Body Language Ghost. They don't know that I did this. I probably should, but it doesn't really matter. So that's why I decided to, after getting a comment to the video that I re-uploaded, react to it and discuss it. So as you can see here, Erzalt, okay, this person, who I'm sure is probably a bot, just linked The Blast, which is I'm guessing an article website, a news website. And the title of the article is Joaquin Pheonix receives praise for similar speech Brie Larson received hate for. Now, this is a very interesting point of view, I would say, because I'm sure everybody has seen Brie Larson's I don't need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me blah blah blah. Everyone knows that it's a meme at this point. It's a dead meme, but it was a meme at the time. And I'm not sure if as many people have seen Joaquin Phoenix's his speech talking about how people of color, which is a dumb term in my opinion, and I'll go into why later. I decided to rebuttal this article. Let's go into it real quick. It has been a massive problem in recent years that award ceremonies have been much too white. What they're talking about here is how white people are more likely to be seen in those award shows, which, whether it's true or not, is not a sign, I would say, of inequality. So they're saying that black people don't get the opportunity to become Oscar winners, which has happened in the past several times. But this is a very specific disparity which people point to, which is always something that people have done, where they just point at a certain specific disparity and say that, yeah, this is a problem, we need to solve it, without giving a solution. More on that later. But it's how people who are different manifest their differences. Nobody really follows a certain pattern of action or a certain pattern of wants, and so they don't end up in the same place, and they're not supposed to end up in the same place. The thing that makes people unique is that people have different interests, different achievements that they achieve. Let's keep going to this. I've been talking for a while now. So they're saying here, Joaquin Phoenix recently won a leading actor at BAFTA this past Sunday and February 2nd. Since his first win this award season, he's won awards at both the Golden Globes and the SAG Awards so far this year. Yes, Joaquin Phoenix is a very talented actor. He's won many awards, and he's surely to win more in the future. However, at the BAFTA, he gave a speech about inclusion and diversity at the entertainment industry. Sorry. So, I'm gonna play a clip of Joaquin Phoenix's his speech.
I feel very honored and privileged to be here. Ashamed to say that I'm part of the problem.
So the part that is very important is that you need to notice how Joaquin Phoenix handles himself there. He stands there looking all shy, and it's surely part of his personality. He's definitely got some... he's eccentric in a way, let's just say that, which is a quality that all really good actors have. And his demeanor is all somber. He's talking about a problem that he feels guilty for causing, which I'm sure he probably loses a lot of sleep thinking about this problem. And I mean, I'd hope he wouldn't for his own sake, but it's not up to me to decide that. And he just talks about the problem that he sees in this industry, and he wants to see it to be fixed. And he says that the people who benefit from this problem should be the ones who fix it.
I think that it is the obligation of the people that have created and perpetuate and benefit from a system of oppression to be the ones that dismantle it. So that's on us.
Now, I don't necessarily agree with what Joaquin Pheonix says, that the problem either exists or is to be solved. I also think that if you think you're going to be the one to solve the problem, you have a certain superiority complex, that you put yourself above the people who are suffering from the problem. And when it comes to race relations, this is racist in nature. If you don't really agree with me, you can look into Adlerian philosophy and psychology. He describes this really clearly in his writings, but you don't really have to agree with me. But I think that no matter what, there's an important thing here to be noticed, which is the way he acts on stage, the way he talks on stage, and the way he talks about the problem. Now, if we go to Brie Larson's speech, Brie Larson's speech took place in the 2018 Women in Film Crystal Plus Lucy Awards. This is the chance she took to speak about diversity. So, Brie Larson has a very interesting way of talking about this problem. Let's put it that way. Brie Larson has been talking down to the people that she talks to, even the people who are women of color, which again is a term that I really hate, but I'm gonna use because that's the term that the people now use. Is she's talking down to the people there, and no matter who they are or what they are. And it's through her, first of all, it's through her demeanor, it's through her body language, which, I mean, yeah, me talking about body language like I know anything about it. But she's proud of talking to us about a problem that she sees. And that is the first thing that is very different between Joaquin Phoenix's delivery and her delivery. And that's really the disparity in this issue. The delivery is a very important part of any speech. I took public speaking in university, and I can tell you that right now. It's not necessarily what you say in the speech, it's how you say it. Because you can say something really boring in a very interesting way and make any boring old speech a really good speech. And you can say a story, you can tell a story about fantastic adventures through the most boring way ever and make it the most boring story ever. So delivery is very important when it comes to speeches. Brie Larson handles herself as if she's a goddess among people, that she sees this problem and that she needs to be the one who solves it, which she does through her plan. Which I'm not gonna argue her plan, because I'm not one to care about this situation. I'm not here to argue against her statistics or her problem. I'm here to argue why she was criticized and why she does deserve the criticism.
That you make a movie that is a love letter to women of color, there is an insanely low chance a woman of color will have the chance to see your movie and review your movie.
She says here that women of color and people of color, I guess, are not really being able to see the movie, which is a very interesting thing, because I never knew that people didn't sell tickets to people who were not white. That is very weird, but more on that later.
It really sucks that reviews matter, but reviews matter. Good reviews out of festivals give small independent films a fighting chance to be bought and seen. Good reviews help films gross money. Good reviews slingshot films into awards contenders. A good review can change your life. It changed mine.
Here she talks about good reviews, like reviews that come from white people are bad just because these people are white. My argument against this is very clear and very obvious. I'm sure 99% of people who read articles online do not care who wrote the article. Unless the article really annoyed them, they wouldn't really want to know who wrote the article, because If the article annoyed them, for example, they'd want to argue against that person on Twitter. But if a person who wrote the article wrote a decent article that was unbiased, well written, and talked about the issue that they were talking about in a good way, no one really would give a shit who the person who wrote it would be. Even most people would skip the entire article. They just read the title, the first few lines, the last few lines, and then leave the article, because nobody really wants to read an entire article. No one reads these days. So that's why I think her argument that an article written by a white person or a black person or an Asian person, no one would really know, no one would really care, because no one really cares who wrote the article. They just care about the article and what it says.
We are expanding to make films that better reflect the people that buy movie tickets.
She's saying that ticket sales are inversely proportional to the written articles, right after she said that tickets are not really being sold to people who are of color. Now, I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt, and I'm gonna give her a different argument in my mind, which is that what she meant is not that people are not being able to see the movie, but that people are not being given passes that are earlier to the movie, so they can write an article that was earlier. That is a point that I guess makes sense to her argument. But I still don't really agree with it, specifically because from my other point that people don't really care who wrote the article. Only specific people care about that, which are not representative of the overall society. Why can't a movie reviewer buy a premiere ticket for more expensive in order to see the movie early on with the entire public, and then write the article on the same day that the movie was released to the public? Now, I get it. If a person doesn't get to watch the film early on, they might not be able to write a review along with all the other people who have written a review and were given early tickets. But that's not really an argument, considering that people can still buy tickets later and will get to write their articles later on. Interest will peak as the people are watching the movie, not as the people are not watching the movie. I get it, some people read early articles to see if they want to watch the movie or not, but most people really wait for people's reactions and not article reactions, because people know that the media is biased. If there's an argument that people of color are not really being capable of buying those tickets, consider it a work expense. You know, you gotta have to invest in yourself in order to invest in your work. That's how it works. But whatever. I mean, it's a weird point to get hung up on because it doesn't really make sense in my opinion. I think everybody gets to buy a ticket to watch a movie. I don't think it matters when you watch the movie. Most people are interested in the movie as it comes out, not as it is being premiered to the artists who did the movie.
I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him.
Here you can hear the famous quote, I don't need a 40-year-old white dude. I'm not really gonna go over it, I'm just gonna point it out because I know people like hearing it. The issue with her speech versus Joaquin Phoenix's speech is that she is not being a nice, humble person who is talking about issues that are really disturbing to her. She's being a self-righteous asshole that is talking about issues that she thinks she would be the messiah and solve. And if you don't think I'm right about this, later on, and she says this.
So what would it take for the critic pool to match this 30-30-20-20 real-world breakdown? And how can we get there? Well, here I am. It's easier than you might think.
So she obviously thinks she knows all the solutions, which is, okay, maybe she does know all the solutions. I'm not really going to argue her solutions. I don't really care about that. What I care about is she handles herself like a self-righteous prick. When it comes to people's reactions specifically, if he is actually part of the problem and she is not, she is part of the victims, their reactions will be objectively considered to be fitting, because he's not supposed to act like a pompous prick and she should, because she's a victim. But that doesn't mean anything when it comes to issues that are very polarized, because not all people agree with Joaquin Phoenix or Brie Larson's ideas, which, by the way, Joaquin Phoenix and Brie Larson both have the same exact opinion on the issue. It's very similar. They both argue that people of color, I hate this word, people of color are not really being able to watch those movies or get awards in acting roles. There's just a difference in the delivery, and that's a very important part of any speech, as I said earlier. So if you're gonna argue that Joaquin Phoenix should not be praised, if Brie Larson won't be praised, that's not really accurate, because she does not deserve praise for being this person on stage, a person that is a show-off, a person that is proud of being this person who calls out everyone on their bullshit. If you're right or wrong doesn't really matter if you're acting like an absolute asshole. An asshole is an asshole no matter where they stand. And that is a very important point. I know humans aren't objective in nature, and that is why. You can't be an objective person if you're a human being, because we all have our own biases. And when we see a person acting like an asshole, we're gonna think, wow, this person's an asshole. We're not gonna think, wow, this person's making good points. But yeah, that's how I see it. And when it comes to the people of color phrase, the reason I hate it is, and I'm gonna tell you now, if calling a person of color is like calling a person of autism, for example, a person of trisomy, a person of a certain element that is not really positive. And let me explain why. When you single out a certain group of people because of a specific aspect of their look or being, you're making it seem like this specific aspect describes them completely. There's nothing else to their character other than they have a certain problem, which in this case is coloredness. If you convert it to colored people, for example, that makes it seem even more offensive, because you're pointing out this specific aspect of their being as they're colored people. That's all they are. When you're saying people of color, I think it's worse, because it's making it seem like color is their problem, and that's why they are people of color. They're not people, they're people of color. What I mean is, if a person is considered a person of color, they're a person of a certain element that we consider to be unique and not really good. And so this is racism on its face, because if you're saying a person is a person of color is basically saying that this person is not like me. This person is a person of color. This person is not a human the way I am a human. And that is racism. Racism is not necessarily thinking negatively of a different race. It's thinking differently of a different race without realizing that humanity as a whole is basically the same. There's so little genetic variation in humans that it's pretty fucking funny. It's a dumb move. It's a dumb point. What I'm trying to say is, person of color is a dumb term because it makes it seem like color is the only thing that this person is about, and that is a negative trait of their being, because they're not just a person, they're a person of color. A white person would be considered a person. I don't like that point of view. I don't think we should split up people into groups no matter what. I think people are not their looks. I think people are their content, are their character. That's a very famous Martin Luther King speech. And when you split people into what they look, that is racism in itself. And so you should not split people into what their skin color is. You should split people into what they care about, what they like, what they don't like, and what they do in their day-to-day lives. I know that my point of view is not very revolutionary. I think most decent people think the way I do, because it's a pretty unbiased and decent way to think of someone, not as a color but as a person. And that is why, honestly, I think that person of color should be forgotten, and it should just be person. It doesn't matter. You all have different interests that don't really differ that much. Most things can be abstracted to the same thing. Everybody is the exact same. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody doesn't want to be sad. Everybody wants to belong somewhere. Stop splitting people according to different elements that makes them supposedly unique. Identity doesn't matter anymore, because most people right now are on the internet, and so you can see how the person just gets repeated over and over and over again. Everybody is the exact same at this point, which is not a problem, but it's definitely not a good thing. That's my opinion, and it doesn't matter what I think. You don't need to listen to what I'm saying. You can just ignore this video. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, That's just what I found interesting to be in this issue. I'm gonna have to edit this down. I've been talking for, hang on, let me check. I have been talking for 30 minutes. Fuck me. Alright, I'm going. Bye. And then she's saying that people of color are not writing enough, even though the ticket sales are okay, do it again. The ticket sales are not representative of, I can't get this point through. The ticket sales are not representative of the written articles. So what she's saying is that more white or more, what she's saying is that more colored people,